Hi everyone, my name is Helen Fagan, and I am really excited to be part of your journey and have been super impressed with your commitment and leadership. I've been doing diversity and inclusion work for about 30 years in healthcare, and one thing I can tell you about this work is that it's like remodeling a plane in a storm. It's hard, it's a crisis, but when you're remodeling anything, you're destroying it, even though it already seems like it's working. But you have a vision for something new, to advance something to a place where it's never been before. And when we're going through a crisis, there's two things available to us. There's danger, but then there's opportunity. The danger is that we double down and do things the way they've always been done. But the opportunity? Everything's disrupted anyway, so why not try something new? We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are. So that's why I want to tell you a little bit about myself, my past, and how I came into this work. Because what we must always remember is that our education cannot supersede someone else's experience. Today's standard of healthcare has challenges with cultural competency. To respond, healthcare workers have begun implementing real tools for change and collaborative and patient-centered approaches to medicine. One tool is the Intercultural Development Inventory, a comprehensive survey for measuring group and individual cultural competence, ensuring that everyone, no matter their challenges or background, can receive the care they deserve. Enters Helen Fagan, as she gives a presentation in August of 2020 advocating for the use of the IDI at a Midwestern university. Helen highlights how the consideration of a patient's life experiences while addressing her own is essential to the best quality of care. Health Equity Director for Mara Health CARTIAS, Dr. Daniel Brooks, best explained it in October of 2019. Learn from the diverse voices of our providers, patients, and partners. Doing so gives all parties a seat at the table. Advocating for Intercultural Development Inventory by Helen Fagan. When I was 12 years old, my dad decided that he wanted his children to be educated in another country. So he moved my two brothers, my mother, and I to England. And for 3.5 years, it was amazing. People at school would make fun of the way I spoke, though. And I was determined that no one would know that English was my second language. And I worked very hard at that. And after 3.5 years, England wouldn't renew our visas. So my father started looking for boarding schools internationally, and he found one. So my two brothers and I were sent off to a boarding school. 15 with no parents. But I graduated high school by 16, and I had my first degree by 18, and I started working at McDonald's. But I was different because I had a degree. Not really. And one day, my coworker was bent over a TV or something. I can't even really remember. And I nudged one of the girls I was working with and said, "That's the butt I'm gonna marry." And fast forward a few years, I became a Navy wife. We were married and had two beautiful sons. And at one point, my father came to visit us, and he was this high executive, multilingual, very powerful man in our country. And he'd done everything for me. And after about a month of him staying with us, he had a stroke. The worst kind of stroke in his brainstem, and his ability to talk or move or anything was lost. And he could blink and nod, and mostly in response to questions. And one day when the nurses had come in, they were asking him questions, and he lost his ability to understand English. My father, who had done everything for us, who had spoke English eloquently, who had arranged everything for us, couldn't even understand the language anymore. And the nurse that was asking questions was obviously getting frustrated because I was having to interpret everything. And she turned to the girl she was training and said, I wish they would learn to speak English. It would make our job so much easier. That did something to me. It triggered something in me, and I went out to the hallway and I said horrible, horrible things to her. And my father passed away not even 6 months later. But I went back to school and I got another degree, and I made sure that I was creating programs that were diverse and made sure that no other patients would be treated the way my father was. And one day we had this 12-year-old boy that was life-flighted from the trauma center. Life-flighted to the trauma center because he was hit by a truck while he was on a bicycle. And when the family arrived, we asked them if they would be willing to donate the organs of their son because he was brain dead. And there was nothing we could do. And they said they were willing. They were absolutely willing, but they wanted someone in the operating room from their family during the time of the retrieval of the organs. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with healthcare, but not anyone but the people actually involved in the surgery or in the organ preservation team are allowed in the room during the time of the surgery. And I'd gone to different places, I'd spoke at different ethnic groups, and my bias had always been that I would meet the cultural needs of my patient as long as it wasn't against federal law. So if they asked, can I get my daughter circumcised? The answer was no. That's against federal law. But can we request this, or can we hang this, or can a shaman come in? Absolutely. That was perfectly fine, but here was a request against hospital policy. And here's the thing. When the family said they wanted someone in the operating room from their family, our chaplain, who I know had been doing diversity and inclusion work so well because I was on his committee, didn't say, well, sorry, that's against hospital policy. We can't do that. He said, what does this mean to you? Why is this important to you? And she said that they were Native American. They believed the soul of their son rested in his heart. So when his heart stopped beating, they wanted prayers to be said so that his soul could be released. So, with that information, we had to convince everyone. Our physicians had to approve it. The organ preservation team, the organ retrieval team, our legal team had to approve it. Everyone had to approve it. And we had physicians saying, I'm not allowing that, or saying that I'm not going to let some family member stand over me and then file a lawsuit against me for something I did wrong. Long story short, we did make it happen. And the organ preservation team said that was the first time in 25 years that a Native American family had consented to donating the organs of a loved one. 25 years? That was huge. I believe that's what inclusion looks like. It takes us being able to put aside our mindset and see further. Because no matter what, someone else's perspective is just as important, no matter if you disagree with how they see the world and how things should be run. And I think that's my mission. I'm going to do everything in my ability to see that this changes.